A fair few people today. I'm Dan Murphy. I'm at Western Rivers Vets in Warren. Tim Gold was meant to be coming across to do this presentation today, but he had to take off, so he's made this PowerPoint slide, and you'll see that there's some pretty deep and philosophical quotes in there that's sort of a bit out of my pay grade, but he understands, so I'll try to do my best. The first thing I had to do was Google who Donald Rumsfeld was, actually, but it turns out he's the Minister for Defence in America for a few years there, and he took them to a war in Iraq and Afghanistan, I think, and so Tim just, you can read that sort of thing. I think the thing he was trying to get at there is that there are things we definitely know, and we know them. There are things that we know we don't know, but there's also a lot of things that we don't know that we don't know. So that means like why we can always try to do the best, and as with everything, there's things that sort of, go a bit askew, a bit out of kilter. So, and with this he was just saying bull plus cow does not necessarily mean calf, and I'll go into that a bit later sort of thing. That's sort of what we're going to talk about. Just briefly, just what Western Rivers Vets is. So it was formed in 2013. Tim Cole and Trevor Smith are the founding partners. And there's a few of us vets here. Charles Tilley, which a lot of you probably know, he was the main vet in Warren for 40 years, and he can do anything in a very short space of time. So he's a bit of a Tim calls in the bench player. He comes in and fills in and shows us all how to do it. So there's the clinic at Warren. It's open 4 days a week in Nyngan. We come to Tottenham and training once a month, and then we have the clinic up at Cloncurry in North Queensland, where we do clinics to Julia Creek, Richmond, and we also do extension work up into the Gulf and across into the Northern Territory. So one of the main things, sort of the byline of the business, is anyone who wants a vet can get a vet. And so we always try to never say no, which is good in theory, but it means a lot of late night driving and trying to microchip kennels and that sort of stuff, which I'd really like to say no to. But yeah, and the other thing is we're animal health problem solvers. We might know everything on the spot, but we always try to do our best to follow it up and find the people who do know, and sort of connect people with people to try and get the best outcomes. So today we're just going to quickly go through the fundamentals of pregnancy testing and the benefits of that. And sort of a new twist that we're trying to get going is the benefits of fetal ageing and how we can use that in segregation, and how we possibly may be able to sort of apply that down here. We'll go through bull testing, and I'll talk about a couple of things that I've seen recently, just to highlight the importance of this. And I don't know, people have a pretty strong opinion of this. Some people really agree with it and some people don't. It's something I think is pretty important. And then we'll just talk about vaccinations briefly. Feel free to ask any questions. And, you know, if I don't know the answer, I can put you in touch with someone that does. So what he's going to do is we're just going to talk. So we do manual preg testing, and we also do the ultrasound. So the pros of this, that when we've got a wide range of calves all year round, joining intervals, it's a lot faster and a lot more accurate at aging those older calves. We do that by sort of the size of the eye socket, the size of the feet, the size of the arteries and everything. And the great thing is there's sort of, you know, we're not worried about ultrasounds breaking down. Sort of, if our gear breaks down, we're in a pretty bad way. So I suppose it takes a long time to get there. With the ultrasound's great. Sorry about the photos. Tim was doing it, so he put photos of me in it. I should have changed them and put photos of him. The great thing about the ultrasound is that when we do have these tight joining periods, it's really quick and it's really good at aging from sort of 6 weeks to 4 months. And yeah, so it's really good when we've got the tight and known joining periods. What we do in particular is that with really heavy pregnancies you can get false negatives. So like if it's very heavy, the ultrasound goes over and you get sort of black noise, so it doesn't show up on the screen. So with all our empties we go in and glove them just to make sure that there's not a big calf sitting there. That's sort of just our quality control, sort of to make sure that yeah, it's just something. And I suppose the cost of gears, it's the same rate charging out as if we're doing it manually or via the ultrasound. But I suppose that's more from the business perspective than you as clients.
So what do you recommend in pregnancy testing? Do you recommend the ultrasound or manual?
I think they're both pretty good. I think they're both pretty accurate. Like it's pretty much of a muchness really. If you've got a tight joining period and you're sort of that 6 weeks, you can just, it's really quick and easy with the ultrasound, low stress, and it's good. But like, you know, obviously with the manual, it's a lot more work for me. Like, you know, it's just as good, just as accurate, and there's no increased risk of losing calves or anything like that. There's a lot of hype out there about and I don't know if people have questions about that, they're more than welcome to ask. But yeah, I think it just entirely depends on the situation.
Are you doing sheep as well?
Yeah, I haven't included it in here, but we're starting to get into sheep scanning. I suppose at the moment we're still in like a bit of a learning phase, but we're slowly getting there. We've done some clients now, we're sort of getting the kinks ironed out, and hopefully sort of the end of this year, early next year, we'll be up and running pretty well. But yeah. Good. Yeah, so this is just a photo, you know, when we're not really sure what our joint periods are. You end up with a fair bit of variation in your calves and weaning and everything, so a bit of variation there. So that's the first point. If you've got a controlled joining, you know, you've got a uniform calf drop, easier to manage, easier to market, and all that sort of stuff. When you're joining all year round, it's harder to put that selection pressure on for fertility because you're not pulling out those ones because that you don't know whether they are having a calf every year or what the go is. And also with the bankers here, they like that last one. Like you can budget, you know what you've got, what's coming in and what's going, sort of thing. So it just helps with planning cash flow. And
what about the argument, Dan, that, you know, I've heard about some people saying it's a more natural style of all-round grazing, you know, mimicking what will happen, you know, on the veldt or something like that. Is that just
like in regards to all year round training? Is that what you mean? Yeah, well, I suppose there's people that do it and they argue black and blue that it's the best thing, sort of thing, and there's people who don't.
Certainly it'd be much harder to put a line together, I would imagine, for sale.
Oh, exactly, and I talk about that in a little while with the fetal ageing sort of thing, how we can do that. And also, I suppose, with the more extensive stuff, you're trying to bring cows into yards with little calves on them.
That's right, yeah.
You're mustering calves have been left under trees.
Yeah.
You just don't, the biggest thing is you don't know what you've got, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
So this is what I talk about, and this is something we're just trying to consider. It's something we do a lot with our northern business, and just if we could somehow just try to revamp the system a bit. Is it what pushed it to see how much further we can go with this other one? So up this is from Cloncurry, I think. This might have been Tara, so that's north of Cloncurry. So their ability to control the bulls is not perfect, so what we do is we pregnancy test into groups, and that way they can have their calving groups. It puts them into management groups so they can sell it, like, you know, it's turning dry, they can bush all those empty cows or cows which are the optimum time for calving up there, sort of October, November, December. They can hang on to them and look after them, and then the other cows they can manage around that. The biggest thing with that, and probably doesn't really relate to us here, but cows sort of calving out of the season up there from sort of March through to September have a really high mortality rate, and so with doing this we can manage those through either aborting those cows or moving them out of the system. What I'm trying to get at here is just how we can put systems in place to help us, and it might not entirely be based on this northern model, but we can do it. Oh, that's just, I don't think it's going to work. It was a video Tim had. I'm not really sure. Yeah, it is working. So it's just like keeping it simple, like, you know, the simple things we can do to help manage and identify these cows, and it doesn't have to be flash. This is just a video of him bang-tailing, so that's the system, like how we identify things up there differently. And this was just his bit of a plug. So why should we be doing it? So the biggest thing is animal health advice, so crush consultation. It's market rate competitive and accountability to a professional body. So we have to go through fairly rigorous sort of accreditation programs and report back to them. So that's just something. As well as doing white fluffy dogs and that while we're there, and working dogs. It's amazing how many dogs, especially in the Mara, seem to have white fluffy ones that have the biggest anal glands, and every time you go out there they make you do stuff to them. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, so this is the bull testing. It's the way we talk about it is the annual roadworthy for your bull sort of thing. We're trying to control what we can and just minimise all risks. Tim talks about the David Pocock beak test. When he hasn't been playing for a while, he doesn't come straight back into it. He goes through, do a fitness test to make sure he's up for the job, I suppose. Running out for the wallabies. So for our annual roadworthy, what we do is it's a process, and we make sure the bull's not lame, we make sure he can mount the cow and do it all. We inspect his testes to make sure there's no hard lumps or any pathology there that would signify that it wouldn't be working. We measure the testes, and there's a direct correlation between the scrotal circumference and the fertility of the bull in regards to how much sperm it can produce. And also with his daughters, bulls with bigger testicles, I suppose, the daughters tend to hit puberty earlier, and the days in calf between calf, the days it takes to get back in calf is also reduced. So it's pretty powerful stuff. By measuring that bull's nuts, you can affect the future fertility of your herd. It's something that's not over the top. And also things making sure the bull can see, and making sure the penis can come out and work properly. And it's amazing how many times there's things like persistent frenulum, we call them, little tags of tissue between the penis and the sheath, so it can't come out. So the bull might be looking great, and he looks like he's working in a paddock, but he's not actually getting any calves. So we've talked about that. The semen testing, there's two parts to this. There's the crush side semen testing, and this is where we look at under the microscope at the side of the crush, looking to make sure we've got progressive immotile sperm. We also look for things such as blood or white blood cells or signs of infection. And then the second part is morphology. This is a bit controversial, but I'll show you an example of why we think it's pretty important. So this is your normal sperm. The head is the DNA, the blueprint, how to build the calf. The tail is the outboard motor, how does it get to the egg sort of thing. There's different, if we have problems in the head in regards to the tail, it can have different effects. So if we've got problems in the tail, they can be what we call compensatable. So if we increase the level of normal sperm in there, these ones aren't swimming as fast, so the other ones can swim better and get to the egg and fertilise it, have a higher chance of producing a viable embryo. If there's damage to the head, they can swim very well, but they get there, fertilise the egg, and it might go for a while, the embryo starts to develop, then it goes, whoa, we've got problems here sort of thing, so it might break down and you result in early embryonic loss sort of thing. So that's why it's pretty important. There's just some different traits. This one with the curled tail, this one's got droplets, and this one's missing a tail. Got an elongated head, and from these different defects we can tell roughly of what's going on in the bull and what the problem is. So this is just an example. This was a mob, it was a single sire bull, one bull with a mob of cows, and we had a pregnancy rate of 32%. These were cows which were going ahead, really good nick, everything was going right. We were thinking, well, what diseases are here, what's going on, why is this here? We did do some disease testing, and it was all came back pretty good, and then we did some bull testing, and so his scrotum size and everything was good. His sperm beside the crush was within normal limits and everything was going well, but then his morphology, he only had 46% normal sperm on morphology, his bottom one here, sorry. Yeah, so, and that was the reason. So, say we've got one bull with pregnancy rate of 32%, so say it was 50 cows, that means we get 16 calves. So if, you know, that's a fair bit of missed money there, isn't it? So what's, yeah.
Do they, does morphology change with time? Like if he just had some sort of infection or something and he's on his way over it, will it improve next time?
Yeah, that's right. So morphology is a snapshot of what's happening at the moment, and that's why we want to do this just a couple of months before joining. If he has damage to his testicles or really over fat bulls, they can lay down a lot of fat around the scrotum, especially if they're being bought from being fed up on grain or whatever brought out here. So we'd recommend retesting this fellow in 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, and if that's improved, if it has been sort of some sort of like transient issue, that should improve. Whereas if it's something more significant, it'll still be bad. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So just briefly, we'll talk about vaccinations. So we recommend the 7-in-1 vaccine, 2 initially and then annually, but we sort of vary that a bit, because that's got the enterotoxemia or the pulpy kidney vaccination. So the general recommendation with that is every 3 months in high risk periods. But we're talking, as we're talking with Greg this morning, he found that he has to do it a bit more often. He was saying 8 weeks, weren't you, Greg?
Yeah, 7, 8 weeks. Around that time.
Yeah. So I suppose pulpy kidney, it's something like we might get away with not vaccinating for years and years, and then we have a pretty good season like this, and we run into a few issues, and with the price of cattle, a few weeks ago I went out and did a post-mortem not far from here sort of thing, and there's a few dead cows in the paddock, and it's pretty heartbreaking when you think there's probably 10 grand dead cattle there in an area probably not much bigger than this shed, and we could have vaccinated, and it's pretty significant.
So was that pulpy kidney?
Yeah, it turned out to be pulpy kidney. I suppose the major differentials there were bloat, pulpy kidney, or nitrate toxicity. So that's what we were talking about earlier with the cloud cover, and that's the other thing you were talking about, Greg. It's hard to differentiate between pulpy kidney and bloat sort of thing. It's pretty similar. There's some subtle signs on post-mortem, and we can try and isolate the toxin from the Clostridial bacteria that causes pulpy kidney. In the 7-in-1, this is sort of, there's the 7-in-1 includes 2 strains of lepto. Lepto causes late-term abortion in cows, and also humans can get it. We recommend vaccinating against it because it's included in that vaccinations. We can protect people from getting this disease, and also we can prevent against late-term abortions. And it can be spread by feral pigs coming in and out. It's also spreading cow's urine, so people spending a lot of time back into the cow in a crush. When we're preg testing that, we can get covered in urine pretty easily, and so we just recommend as a blanket rule the 7-in-1 vaccine. The other one we're seeing, Vibrio, is reproductive disease. It causes early embryonic loss and early stage abortion. It's a venereal disease, and it spreads between bulls and cows when at mating. Older bulls it lives in the sheath of the bull, and older bulls tend to, as they have bigger sheaths, have better environment for the bacteria to survive, and can become long-term carriers. And what this ends up is, really, if you've got an all year round joining, a really protracted sort of calves of all different sizes, and that, if you've got a short joining period of poor pre-testing result, we recommend vaccinating your bulls against this. It's initially 2 vaccines, and then 1 annually, which you can also do at the same time as you do your bull testing sort of thing. So it works in pretty well. North of Warren, we had some definite isolates, and there's been other around. So that's probably little bit. And, yeah, so I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to ask. Probably gone a bit too quick, so it's
So Dan, I've got one question.
yeah.
So if you're, you haven't sort of been focusing on cattle feed, or you're just moving into cattle.
Yep.
I suppose the question would be, what's the first thing you should be doing? And I suppose that's probably talking to you guys. But what's the first thing you should be doing?
Go to the bank and get a lot of money.
After you've done that.
Well, in all honesty, the first thing I'll be doing, especially in a season like this, is giving them a vaccine. I'm giving them 7-in-1 vaccine straight
Keep your
up.
vaccines up.
And it's just, it's heartbreaking when you go out there and there's dead cattle there, and you could have prevented that quite easily, sort of thing.
There's something that sort of gets a bit lost in the dry years.
Yeah.
People tend to get used to not vaccinating.
Exactly right. You become fairly blasé to it when like a risk is in there, but you miss it when it's not there. The other thing is bull testing, especially. I hope I explained that well enough. It's really a really important tool, especially when you do have like the specific joining periods. Like it's probably not so much important when you're calving all year round as like they can sort of make it up a bit, but when you've got sort of set joining periods, it's pretty important. Because you think about the cow's pregnant for 9 months of the year, and then say it takes a month for a uterus to get back to normal, come back to good. She's only got 2 months to get back in calf if you want a calf every year. So 3 cycles sort of thing. Say if you've got a bull with a dodgy sperm, say the head of the sperm's got defects in it, by the time she conceives to that sperm, and then a week, 2 weeks later she realises it's not a viable embryo, she aborts, or the embryo dies. She's only got sort of 1 cycle to get back in calf that time. Otherwise, she's out of the system, out of the season. So it's pretty, you can.
What about calving problems? So I've got a mate who's having a lot of calving problems this year. He'd pulled all manner of heifers and some cows as well. And I think it was the bull. I actually spoke to Tim Brewfield, might have been Gordon Rashorgi actually. Gordon Rashorgi, and the feet were like that.
Yeah.
And Gordon mentioned it was probably it wasn't the bull, the genetics. It was a calf weight issue or a cow fatness issue. What would be the go for that?
So the best thing with that is if you've got heifers, small cows, get your EBVs, your estimated breeding values on the bull. Get the full birth weight. Make sure he's a heifer bull. Make sure he's got a nice small birth weight.
Well, this guy's pretty switched on with his cattle, and I don't think that would have been a problem in terms of the EBV. So. For some reason it was just curled up front. Yeah, okay.
I sort of wonder, is that because just the calf's so big in there, tucked in, or if there's just some sort of... How many calves were affected?
I think he'd pulled 16 or 20 or something at that stage. Probably a couple hundred.
Yeah, okay, right, so... Yeah, and I suppose in the season like we had all that feed...
It may have been the cow, as well. Combination, do you think?
In regards to like the bull testing and birth weight size, we've had a similar story just out of Warren. Lady, I think we pulled probably 12, 13 calves, and she would have pulled probably that many again herself, and out of 50, 60 cows. And she had 2 bulls. Anyway, so what we did, we ended up taking DNA samples from the cows that we pulled and DNA samples from the bulls, and we sent them away for testing, and we isolated which bull was throwing these big calves. And so she's got rid of him, sent him to the butcher. And it was interesting, it was really good actually, because that bull went wandering in the last couple of weeks of her joining, and so it just reinforced that it was right, because in the last few weeks of her joining, and I suppose there could be other factors that are playing, but like she didn't have any worries when there was one bull with him, so that's pretty powerful stuff. Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
That's all right.